Hello, my name is Mike Donovan with the Canadian Wildlife Channel. This video is titled Trophy Hunting versus Ecotourism. If you tell a lie enough times, people will believe it. That's a quotation by Joseph Goebbels. He was the Nazi propagandist during the Second World War. This remark by Goebbels is the credo that trophy hunters adhere to when broadcasting the benefits of trophy hunting. If you tell a lie enough times, people will believe it. Mark Twain said this: "It's easier to tell a lie than it is to tell people they have been lied to." That statement from Twain explains the situation whereby the public, the media, the bureaucrats, the politicians, and even the hunters themselves have been lied to for so long by the trophy hunters that when told that ecotourism is far more lucrative and beneficial than trophy hunting, they simply don't believe it. However, let's review the facts as follows. This is a report by Nevadans for Responsible Wildlife Management. It's called Wildlife Conservation and Management Funding in the U.S., written back in October 2014. And in here, they've done a fairly elaborate study. And this is the attitude of, they call them sportsmen, but this is the trophy hunters, sportsmen. Favor the current system, which places a heavy emphasis on their interests through favorable composition of wildlife commissions and a continued emphasis on ungulate management. Non-human predators, wolves, mountain lions, coyotes, ravens, and others are disfavored by wildlife managers at all levels as competition for sportsmen and are treated as second-class citizens of the animal kingdom. So if you're a predator in the animal kingdom, trophy hunters don't like you because you're competing with them for their trophies. Let me continue reading. Sportsmen suggest this bias is justified because sportsmen pay for wildlife, a refrain heard repeatedly when these matters are discussed. Now, do sportsmen really pay for wildlife? So in the introduction here, of the same study, approximately 95% of federal, 88% of nonprofit, and 94% of total funding for wildlife conservation and management come from the non-hunting public. So, based on the 2016 Alberta Guide to Hunting Regulations, this is an actual Alberta government website here. In 2015-16, $18.8 million in revenue was collected from the sale of hunting licenses and win cards. AAMDC website, which is a website for municipalities in Alberta, and in 2016 the budget was $23 million. And it's actually going to be reduced in the new budget to $21 million, and that's another topic for another video. But anyway, the amount of money generated is, say, 19 million. The amount of money to enforce it was 23 million. So already we're spending $4 million more to enforce hunting than we are collecting from hunting. And then on top of that, I had a conversation with one of the section heads of the wildlife management sections with Alberta Environment and Parks, and I was told that they spend $11 million on the game management section, which is a section within that department that basically figures out the quotas of wildlife that can be killed every year without damaging the herd. So on top of the $4 million, we're spending another further $11 million. So that's $15 million that the Alberta taxpayer is funding hunting in Alberta, where taxpayers are actually subsidizing hunting in Alberta. This is a very good article written on the situation in Africa. It's called The $200 Million Question. How much does trophy hunting really contribute to African communities? Done back in February 2013. Again, it's a fairly lengthy report, but we'll just focus on the summary here. So advocates for the African trophy hunting industry invariably claim that hunting revenues provide benefits to rural communities. Analysis of literature on the economics of trophy hunting reveals, however, that communities and areas where hunting occurs derive very little benefit from this revenue. How much revenue does reach the communities? They're supposed to get 5%. Research published by the Pro Hunting International Council for Game and Wildlife Conservation and the UN Food and Agricultural Organization, supported by other authors, finds that hunting companies contribute only 3% of their revenue to communities living in the hunting areas. The vast majority of their expenditure goes to firms, government agencies, and individuals located internationally or in national capitals. As the quote above demonstrates, expenditure accruing to government agencies rarely reaches local communities due to corruption and other spending requirements. How important is trophy hunting in Africa? Again, trophy hunting advocates present the industry as large, citing figures such as $200 million in annual revenue, but in context, the industry is tiny, contributing at best a fraction of GDP. Nature-based conservative tourism does play a significant role in national development, but trophy hunting itself is insignificant. Across the investigated countries, trophy hunting revenue was only 1.8% of tourism revenues. And yet here is another study finding that bear viewing is much more lucrative and beneficial than bear hunting. Or eco-tours versus trophy hunting. Again, another study. This is a study, quite a lengthy study. It's a 130-page study that was conducted back a few years ago. It's called The Economic Impact of Bear Viewing and Bear Hunting in the Great Bear Rainforest of British Columbia. GBR is what those initials stand for when you see it farther down in the report. So for the sake of brevity here, I'm just going to cut. Now there's a number of findings in the report, like quite a few of them, but I'm just going to stick with point one, which primarily has to do with the revenues. And I'll just read it here for you quickly. The overwhelming conclusion is that bear viewing in the Greater Bear Forest generates far more value to the economy, both in terms of total visitor expenditures and GDP, and provides greater employment opportunities and returns to the government than does bear hunting. In 12 times more lucrative and beneficial than bear hunting. We're not just talking a few percent here, we're talking 12 times. So this is a little report on the wolves that were reintroduced into the Yellowstone Park down in Wyoming. And so this is from Yellowstone Wolves website, yellowstonepark.com. Okay, so this is sort of like their official website. So back in 1992, they were looking to reintroduce the wolves into the park. They ran some numbers, and they figured that the hunting business, the trophy hunting business, the elk hunting business, would lose about $500,000 a year from the wolves eating the elk. And that would in turn result in trophy hunting going down by that amount. But on the flip side, they predicted that they would bring in $7 to $10 million annual revenue, again many times greater than the loss. Okay, so just common business sense here. Now, what actually occurred? What actually occurred is they predicted a 4 to 5% increase in tourism because of the wolves, but they only got 3.5 to 4% based on a brief study. But in 2005, they ran some numbers, and they generated $5 million from tourism related to wolf, to people coming in to visit the wolves and doing ecotourism in that park. So here we have an article in Scientific American covering a report or a study done by the Sheldrick Association in Nairobi that found that elephants are worth 76 times, not 76%, 76 times more alive than dead. So anyhow, you can find that article online. Basically, what they found is that the poached elephant can sell in the black market for $21,000, whereas a living elephant is worth more than $1.6 million in ecotourism opportunities. So here is a article from a newspaper. Costa Rica becomes first Latin American country to ban hunting for sport, and this is fairly recently, back in 2012. Costa Rica stopped trophy hunting and went to completely eco-tourist country. Recently, it was calculated in a study published in the Journal of National Academy of Sciences, ecotourism has improved the quality of life of Costa Ricans living in areas close to the parks and protected areas by 16%. Study conducted by U.S. researchers suggests that ecotourism has a positive impact on poverty reduction. Okay, so let's look at Botswana, which is a country, landlocked country in the middle of the southern part of Africa. Back in 2015, Botswana completely banned, they call them sports hunters, but they're trophy hunters right after the Cecil killing. So that's just not that long ago. They had actually started transitioning to all eco tours, but that was the nail in the coffin when that happened, so they completely banned trophy hunting from that point on. Now, this is an article just recently, back in June of 2016. Botswana's new gem, eco-friendly tourism. So they've really jumped into both feet, gone all the way with ecotourism. And they have more people come and visit Botswana through ecotourism than they have in the whole country. Yeah, so it's 2 million people, but they have 2.6 and 2.7 million people go to Botswana strictly for ecotourism. Isn't that amazing? It's second in it's producing the second most amount of income for the country after diamonds. 4 to 5% of the country's GDP is from ecotourism. Although there's no trophy hunting in Rwanda, the country of Rwanda, central small country in the middle of Africa, I just want to highlight this because what they consciously did was recognize an ecotourism opportunity in the mountain gorillas. As opposed to converting the land, getting rid of the gorillas and converting the land to agriculture. So back, this is a report from 2001. So basically, I'll just kind of go through some highlights with it. So the visiting of the gorillas really didn't start taking place until 1979. So this was calculated about 21 years later. Today, the mountain gorilla visitation to visit the mountain gorillas and ecotourism have made tourism the third highest foreign currency earner for the country after tea and coffee at nearly $1 million per year. And as I say, that is back in 2001 when the gorilla fee was $250 a person. Well, I can tell you today, I do tours to Africa, and this place is humming, and the fee is $750, $500 more, 3 times more than that. Point being is that when you put your mind to developing ecotourism, you can generate a lot of revenue from it. Why can third world countries like Costa Rica, Botswana, and Rwanda see the benefits of ecotourism, whereas our own provincial and federal governments don't see the writing on the wall?